kind of like this type of setup rather than a traditional class where you have to touch on A, B, and C. You know, it's nice to like, you know, navigate what your issues are, what you're struggling with for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me, like, how's it going? You said things are going really well. What are you
Things are
working?
going well. So her potty training is going good. She won't poop in the house. She has her bell on the door. She rings the bell. Occasionally, if she gets
Hey, Sean.
distracted, she might pee inside. She's working on recall. Her recall is amazing, especially playing with that mini Aussie because he is 12 weeks and
Yep.
she's 9. So he's a little bit ahead of her. So playing with him and following his cues when he's being asked to come is being super helpful.
Oh yeah, definitely. Dogs learn from other dogs, and you know, that could be a good thing or that can be a bad thing. So it sounds
Right.
like, you know, his good recall is helping her with her good recall. Can you hear us okay, Sean?
I think
I think
I think your mic's
you're
off.
muted. Yep. Technical difficulties.
Oops. I do find that training her without a leash seems to be going so much better than with a leash. Um, I
Okay.
did I did get her a harness instead of a collar, and I got her a really long lead to drag behind her, which I'm gonna start doing
Yep.
probably next week just to have her get used to it being on her. But I don't know. I just feel that she listens better when she's not on the leash.
Yeah.
If that sounds
Interesting. Yeah.
weird, I know,
Well,
but
I mean, yes and no. I mean, she was probably loving the freedom and, you know, enjoying being able to go do her thing. And it's great that she's responding to you and doing those things. We only really need to keep them close to us when we need to make a correction because they're not listening. So, you
right.
know, maybe having the lead dragging around behind her would be a good idea in case she decides, you know, she sees something more interesting than you know.
Yeah.
So that I feel like sometimes with puppies too is we go through like kind of like a honeymoon period where the training's going really well, and then all of a sudden we're like, whoa, wait, this little bit of defiance starts popping up and things like that. So just definitely watch for that when she starts testing, you know, her limits and whatnot. That'll be the time where you really want to make sure that you have something on her to bring her back.
Yep. So then I'll probably start doing that tomorrow. I'll put the harness on, start getting her used to it, and at least start getting her used to dragging it behind her. That way,
Yeah.
it's when it does get a little bit more, like you said, when the honeymoon period's over and she's
Yeah.
starting to get more comfortable getting farther away from me, then she's
Yeah.
used to it versus, okay,
And
good
I
idea.
don't know if it's a matter of hormones or you know what's going on in their development that causes that, but it's just something that you know I've seen over and over again where you know things are going great and then all of a sudden it's like whoa, you know, maybe the potty training goes to hell or the recall goes and like something happens and you're like wait, we were doing so good. So you know just
Yeah,
be aware of that. You know, I don't know if they hit a certain just like teenagers and they're testing us or what's going on, but it certainly happens. So, you know, just but having her used to a leash and you know the feeling of a harness or a collar or whatever you're going to use and getting her used to that and you know and being on a leash because she'll have to do those things when she goes in a store or whatever. So
yes, absolutely.
yep. So
Good.
has she how does she do on the leash when you have her?
I think it was because that's why I went to the harness because I think it's because like where it hooks to her collar, it just like she wanted to just pull away from it and stuff. I
Yeah.
mean, she did all right with it. I had a retractable leash, so I would let it out as far as I could and then lock it. So she did have, so it wasn't pulling on her constantly.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm hoping that the harness just helps a little bit with that because it will be hooked to her back instead of around her neck. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. I'm
Yeah.
not
Was
really
she like
sure.
trying to wiggle out of it, or was she like pressing against it? What was she doing?
No, she was kind of just like she would just kind of back up and kind of put her head back, like pulling back instead of like putting her head down and coming forward.
Hmm. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Just not used to the feeling of it, probably.
yeah, I think that's totally it.
Yeah, you definitely want to get her used to that feeling and get her in some public places where she knows that the expectation is to be on a leash, and this is how, this is how we do it. But I like to start out in Campbell's in Madison just because it's a smaller space and there's less people in there usually. And so I kind of start there, and then we kind of graduate over to Tractor Supply where it's a lot bigger and there's more traffic outside and, more people. So, but
Yes,
there's a
that's
really
a good
good
idea.
video in the chat forum too, talking where I did some exposure work with a beagle, and she's very hyper. She's like 2 or 3 now. And she really hasn't had a lot of social interaction, getting out, doing stores and things like that. But her mom wanted to be able to do those things with her. So she was very overstimulated. And
Yep.
I ended up bringing her in through the store, and she did pretty good. But, Jordan did a nice explanation of, what to look for when your dogs, to see if they're ready to go do something like that, or if they're not, if you're like, there's different steps to that exposure. Where some dogs, you get out and you just approach the store and you can tell they're overstimulated. It's a good idea to get them used to just the outside, and bring their level down before you're able to enter the store. So anyway, there's a good explanation of doing exposure and socialization in that
Yep.
forum. I'm not sure if you've seen that yet, but
I don't know if I've seen that one. I've watched so many videos on you guys
oh,
on this chat
good.
forum. It's awesome.
That's
I've really
wonderful.
enjoyed it. Yeah.
Oh, good. That's good. Yeah, we try to touch on everything, and we're still every day we're like, oh, we got to make a video for this, we got to make a video for that. So there'll be a lot more
Yeah.
coming to you, and our clients definitely gives us, a lot of inspiration for different videos and different scenarios. So that's good.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of good stuff in there for socialization. And plus, if you take her out and you're like, I don't really know what this is, if this behavior is telling me we're ready or we're not ready, feel free to like film it and, show us, and we can let you know, oh, she looks like she might have been over threshold, or yeah, she's definitely ready. Like if you second guess any of that, just reach out and let us know, and we can help with that too.
We did take her into Tractor Supply on Sunday afternoon.
Yep.
I held her because she's still little enough for me to hold her. I did, like when we got into the puppy aisle, I did put her down just so that she could sniff around and check out the toys and stuff. She didn't really seem to be nervous about it. And
Good.
then this afternoon, we went up to 201 Power Sports because Scott is the trail master for the ATV club, and we had to pick up a trailer, and we have a bunch of friends in there. So we did bring her in there too, and I let her like go and sniff around and stuff. And there was probably 5 people there, and she was more, she seemed more comfortable with the women than the men, but she did eventually go up to the men. It just took her like a second. She looked a little bit nervous, and then she was fine once she realized that they were, I don't know, not scary.
That they were safe. Don't hesitate to give anybody, hey there.
Sorry about that.
There we go.
Were having some issues.
That's okay. I don't know if it's the weather or what's going on.
No. It was all on my end. So I joined through my my Google email account, and for some reason it said that the meeting was not supported by that app. So I needed to actually download Google Meetings, and then I was entering the phone number pin instead of the meeting pin. So yeah, it took me a little while, but we're here.
That's okay. I'm glad you're here. So we were just talking about socialization and exposure with our puppies, and getting them out and knowing, paying attention to their body language and stuff, and to see where they're at and how they're feeling about those interactions. And Amy had just mentioned that, she brought Aspen into the store. Hi, honey. Look at her.
She jumped up here last time too. She says,
"Oh, what a good girl."
I like to be up and involved with everything.
So Amy was just saying that Aspen was more likely to go up to women than to men in the store. And I was just mentioning that, don't be afraid to like carry some treats and like give them to those people that she might be fearful of, if it's men or children or whatever, and have them distribute those treats. That way she's making the association that, people are good and men are, men come with treats and, all that.
Right, exactly.
So, Sean, can you remind me what your daughter's name is? I can't remember.
Olive.
Olive. Hi, Olive. How is training going?
It's going pretty good. Honestly, she's doing actually a lot better. This past week, we did a lot of, I wouldn't necessarily call it the recall, which she's doing pretty good with recall, but it's more when she's going into, when we walk through the other room, when she has to go through the bathroom, and Judy and Bo will be sitting on the couch. She wants to go over and she wants to get, she wants to play.
Yeah.
And what I've actually found is we've been doing the wait at the door, which she's phenomenal at that. No brainer. She's good at that. And then once I come in the door, she's getting used to, now she's looking to see if I'm going for another treat. And if she sees me going for another treat, she'll follow me all the way through the house until I go through the other door. She pays no attention to anybody else doing anything.
Excellent. Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's such a big piece of it, is making ourselves more rewarding and more enticing than anything else. And, having that connection with our dogs, that's how we do it. They respond to us over anything else. So definitely that's good. Have you been doing any engage, disengage work with her?
Not that much. Tori has done the engage, disengage with her before. So, I mean, she has done it.
Yeah.
Tori has been working on her with the cane too.
Perfect.
We've been worried about her having a kind of a fear of like sticks and things like that. And so she's been working with her on that, and that seems to be going pretty well too.
Excellent. Good. Yeah, that will definitely help. And then when she approaches that stuff in public, hopefully it won't be so fearful. She won't be so fearful of it. That's excellent. Yeah. Keep up with the engage, disengage. Pulling our dog's attention away from something else to focus on us is a key piece of that, bringing them back around. Same thing for Aspen. This is a good time to be even at Aspen's age, like the name game, pulling, calling her to you by her name, disengaging her by calling her name, and rewarding, just always rewarding that choice to pay attention to you over something else, and just keep reinforcing that it's more important to come back to me than anything else. So that just goes a long way.
Last week we were struggling with, because she wants to put everything in her mouth because she's young. And so like pine cone, sticks, whatever. And she's been doing very well with, because she has decided that she's very food driven, which makes me happy, because then she wants to treat. So if I have to say her name in a certain way and the come in a certain way, and she knows that means I have a treat for you. So let's go.
Yeah.
So she is doing really well with that.
Tone is huge. And I know we talked about that, Sean, when we were working together. The tone of your voice, you could say anything to a dog in a certain tone, and they think that, you're either happy or you're mad. They'll identify very quickly, which, absolutely say those, their name and the recall in a happy tone, an excited tone, because we want them to come to us. We want us to be rewarding for that connection. So definitely that made me think of something, and it's already gone. Tone, maybe it will come back to me. I'm not sure. I was right there and it was gone.
Oh man.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. I was thinking of something too when you were mentioning being food motivated, and Jordan and I were just talking about that earlier this week, about those dogs that are not food motivated, and how grateful we are when they are treat motivated, because it makes training so much easier. But once in a while you get a dog that's just not, you know, they're not food motivated or even toy motivated for, you know, so that makes it a lot more difficult. And if you ever run into a situation your dog's not responding to the treats for some reason, switch it up, you know. Sometimes it's that physical touch and praise and that belly scratch and whatever is just as rewarding, if not more sometimes, than a treat. Or a game of fetch. We were talking about, you know, teaching recall with a game of fetch, and same concept, you know, it's rewarding to come back to you because that ball is going to get thrown again. Just kind of reinforces that return, which is great. So sometimes if you need to switch it up, switch it up.
Hazel's
Yeah,
lost
like-
a bit of her like drive for fetch and stuff.
Really?
When we first got her, I used to go out and I used to play. We had one of those, it's a Kong, but it looks like one of those Doberman retriever or a retriever toy that you can throw in the water and the dog would go out, and we would play with that, or we would play with a tennis ball, and she, you know, she wouldn't play for a long time, but you know, we'd play for 10 or 15 minutes and she'd get some energy out. She has, the last several times we've all tried to go out with her, and you throw it and she looks at it. She's like, nope. I don't want to do that.
Yeah. Hazel has hound in her, right?
We suspect, we're not
She
100%
looks
sure.
like she does.
Yeah, that's what we think too. We were
Yeah.
told she's black lab and healer, is what we were told. But she's a very lazy dog. Which makes us her nose, she's very, you know, and I know dogs are driven by their nose, but she is very driven by her nose, you know. So
Yeah.
it's to the ground all the time.
Yeah, I remember seeing in her face, she just looks like she has some hound in her, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if she did.
Yeah.
But you know, it's okay if she doesn't want to play fetch and you can't burn her out that way. That's totally fine. Switch it up and take advantage of that scent work, you know, the scent work games to burn her out. That's mentally stimulating. And, you know, she'll get a lot of satisfaction out of doing those things. I think I showed you the towel. Did I show you the towel thing where you sprinkle some treats and roll it up and tie different knots? Was that you?
You would totally talk to us about that. And I was going to try that, except she tends to not, she won't try to untie the knots. She'll just chew a hole in the towel.
Yeah.
That's her technique to everything. But I did buy her, bought her two or three treat toys, and they're puzzles.
Yep.
You mentioned the puzzles, and I got her a couple of puzzles. And one of them she really liked. She went to it right away. The other one she struggled with a little bit more.
Yep.
We have a couple of them that she can roll around and they'll dispense.
Yeah.
She has no interest in those at all. She's almost kind of scared of them.
Yeah.
Like she doesn't know what to do with them. And I've tossed them around and the treats will sprinkle out and she'll go eat the treats and then nothing. You know, you'll push it around, the treats will sprinkle, and she's like, no, I don't want any part of that. But the other two, so
keep working on that though. Keep working on that so she doesn't have a fear of that sound.
Sure.
So maybe something. Hi, Charlotte. We can hear you, not see you though.
Hello.
Hi. So I would find something a little bit more enticing than what's in the actual ball.
Okay.
So maybe like a piece of hot dog or something that's going to smell really strong or whatever.
Yep.
And if she shows, just like the cane, she shows interest in that and goes toward it, reward her for that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. And get her to the point where she's nudging that toy and she's not fearful of that sound. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, totally.
Okay. So just keep reinforcing that confidence with her.
Yep.
So she's not afraid of these random things. She feels a little bit more confident about those things.
Okay. Oh, you ate the last hot dog tonight, right?
No, they still have hot dog.
Oh, they still have hot dog? Okay.
Oh, perfect. There you go.
Just an extra half.
Hi, Charlotte.
Hi.
How are you? How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. So we started talking about social exposure, things like that. We're still kind of talking about that in a way of exposing our dogs to things that they might be fearful of. Which, Amy, you're probably going to see a fear period sooner rather than later with Miss Aspen. And so it will be like, what you'll probably notice is like she's jumping away from things all of a sudden that she wasn't afraid of before, sounds or sights or whatever. And just skittish around certain things. That's totally normal fear period stuff. Same thing that I just talked about with Sean, just that, positive exposure, reinforcing that confidence. But especially where she plays with other dogs, don't be afraid to take a break from that too. If you feel like something might really scare her, during a social interaction with another dog. Because once those incidents happen during a fear period, it can really solidify that fear. So just be cautious of those signs when you start to see her acting a little more skittish out of nowhere, because that's probably just a regular fear period. And definitely want her to have those positive interactions.
Yes.
So how's it going with your pup, Charlotte?
Where do I start? Oh boy. Well, she has had some improvements this week. So far, so good. We haven't had to go back to the vet for any issues that I discussed with you about.
Okay.
It had been a long 3 weeks, but she seems to be doing really well now.
Okay.
We haven't had an accident in the house since Monday. So
Excellent.
hopefully we're on the positive end, but we'll
Yep.
see how that goes. Today, I've actually this week have put her in her kennel while I'm gone, because I'm only gone 5 hours-ish or so. So
Okay.
just because my husband owns a business, so when she was there, she ended up chewing on 2 of our chairs. So it was just a lot for him. So I'm trying to get her to be used to her kennel. I had noticed that she was going in her kennel, but my daughter told me for the first time today, because I wasn't home, they were home before me, that she didn't go to the bathroom in her kennel. So
That's good.
maybe we're starting to have some better things, because like I said, I've never had a dog that lasts this long with these issues, but I think her medical issues really set her back, like you were telling me.
Yeah, it
And
definitely can.
yes. And so, but on the positive note, we are drag racers. So the first time I brought her to the track on Sunday, and she had zero fear with the cars going, the bikes, everything, all the noises at a drag strip. She had no fear. She just wanted to go right to the right up to the line, and I'm like, you can't go up there. And the only
Wow.
thing is, the biggest thing is her pulling on her leash. I've
Yeah.
told you a few things of some stuff, but we'll work on those. But she had the only fear that I've noticed with her, because she loves everybody and everything,
Yeah,
is my
that's great.
son has those really, really fast RC cars.
Mhm.
That is one thing that she truly doesn't like.
Yeah.
She was like, oh, I don't think so. But his bicycle's a different story. She wants their tires.
We don't want to encourage the tire biting. That
No.
could be terrible.
Yes. So she'll bark and growl. Her puppiness is funny, but she will, when they're riding the bike, she doesn't she wants to, but it's not a constant thing. She's grabbing a hold of it. So
Okay.
we're not at that point yet, but I'm like, oh my word. But that's the only real things that I've noticed. Everything else, she really doesn't have any fear so far. And, but she does like to chase my chickens if they're outside. So I have to be careful with that.
Can you remind me how old she is?
So I looked at it last night. She's actually a little younger than I thought. So this week she should be about 20 weeks.
Okay. So she's fairly young. Yeah. And
Yes.
just like I was telling Amy that, there's a good possibility that she'll be approaching a fear period at some point. So if you see some random fear coming out of nowhere, it's completely normal. So same thing that I told Amy, just keep an eye, make sure those interactions that she has with things and people and dogs are positive. And if you think for any reason it won't be, don't be afraid to say, my dog's in a fear period. We're just going to step back a little bit, not do a play date or whatever, just to prevent anything happening. So the tire thing worries me just a little bit. If she becomes confident with wanting to go and bite it, that could be potentially very dangerous. How are you doing any engage, disengage work with her to pull her away from that so she's not focusing on the bike?
She just started that because the kiddos just started like riding their bikes, and my son has one of those little drifter bike things. So it was just this week that she's actually been exposed to it. So I
Okay.
had, and at that time she was actually off the leash. I was trusting her, and she did very, very well.
Okay.
So I have not had to like do anything quite like that yet, but I think I probably definitely should once
Yep.
they
I
start
actually
really
want you,
riding. You know what I mean?
yeah, I want you to get ahead of that. So make some carve out some time every day, you know, whether it's just 10 minutes is all it could take, but sit there in a low stimulating environment at first, you know, maybe inside, and it's just you and her. And when she's consistently, like, you're giving her her name as a focus cue, so let her sniff something out and get, you know, engage with whatever that is,
Yep.
and then call her attention back to you, and make sure that you have some fluency there and she's consistently calling back to you,
Yep.
or just looking at you, and then you're rewarding every time she looks back at you. Okay, so that's all engage
Okay.
disengages. You're disengaging her from whatever she's engaged with.
Yep. Like if
Just
she's like going to like wanting to mess around with a tire and then she stops and looks at me. So that means
yeah,
like she's kind of disengaged and she's looking at me. Could that be
absolutely.
her looking at me like, ooh, is this okay, mom? Or
Yeah.
like, okay.
So start that disengaged work inside in a low stimulating environment. Make sure she has it, you know. So like
Yep.
9 out of 10 times, 10 out of 10 times, she's disengaging with whatever she'd been looking at and engaging with you.
Yep.
Reward for that constantly. And then start adding in some distractions, you know. Try it outside with just you and her.
Yep.
You know, where there's more sights and smells and whatever going on, a little bit more distraction. Make sure she's fluent in that situation. And then I want you to practice that around the bike. Okay. So
Okay.
that way she's consistently disengaging from that bike to look at you.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay.
And I have a feeling like she might have the only other little issue, well, it could be a big issue, is and I think it's common in a lot of dogs, especially the ones that are rescues, I'm guessing, where she's kind of been bounced around some. So like
Yeah.
sometimes she'll be in the house and I'll have to like go out, say I had to go out to the chickens, so obviously she just can't go with me. She will be at the door barking and barking and barking, like it's almost like separation anxiety.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And that's hard because you're outside and you're not able to like be there and respond. Does she bark
Yes.
at anything outside when you're in there with her?
No.
Okay.
Nope. She would like if she sees something outside and I'm in there with her, she'll just like perk her ears up or like
Yeah.
she'll check it
She's
out.
not barking.
But we have 3 cats. Two of them can't stand her, and one of them she plays with. But she can be a little rough, so I do stop her from that. So other than that, she just kind of she's okay, and she'll like bark with them and growl like she's playing. But for the
Yeah.
most part, nope. It's as soon as I like walk out the door, she
Okay.
has a fit.
Will she still do that if somebody is in the house with her?
Not so much.
Okay.
Nope.
But she might.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So that's actually a good thing because you're going to have an opportunity to correct that behavior. It will be a lot easier to correct that behavior if someone's in there to do that with her while you leave.
Yep.
So one thing that you can do to help prevent that from happening or to work on that with her is have that person stay inside with her. You go outside, even engage with her from outside the window and like make sure she sees you walking away, you know, kind of be dramatic or whatever. Sometimes we kind of set dogs up for, this stuff,
Yes.
but it's a good opportunity to practice it. So, get her attention. Hopefully she starts barking in that moment. What I want is the person inside with her to disengage her from that window. And Sean, we talked about this, I think, because barking was something that you were dealing with too. One of the things that we need to do is completely distract that dog from what's happening. Because if you stand there and you say, stop barking, stop barking, stop barking, the dog's like, what is wrong with you? Oh, they're barking with me. Like, so disengage them and the best scenario that I've seen is actually moving that dog out of that room. So not physically, but like using
Yep.
treats to lure them out of the room and kind of reset that dog. Okay. Distract them. Maybe a game of
Mhm.
fetch in the other room, or a toy that they love, or a spoon with peanut butter on it, or whatever. But just
Yep.
teaching them that instead of staying in that moment and barking, it was more rewarding to leave and walk away, because we got to remember dogs learn through association. So if we want them to associate, you know, a more positive experience with you walking out the door, well, definitely licking peanut butter in the kitchen is much more rewarding than standing at the window barking. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Definitely.
So that might be a good opportunity to practice that. And then
Perfect.
something else you can do if you're on your own is like, that would be a good opportunity to fill a Kong with some peanut butter and settle her down before you leave. So again, it's a rewarding moment that you're leaving because she's got her favorite treat over here and she's enjoying that. And instead of standing at the window and going, oh God, mom's gone, where's she going?
Yes, and that's what she usually like the whole kennel thing to even put her at night. That's why she pretty much sleeps with us because she just like I've told you where she's always she will cry and she'll bark and she does not stop. Like I've even tried to like let it go and wait and it's not even happening. So I've talked to a few people and they're just like wondering like with her being in the rescue, is there something that could have possibly
Oh, I'm sure.
happened?
I'm
So
sure. I'm
so
sure
she
she
is tough. So would that be something cool to do, like when I go to leave? Because I'm trying to work with her with that. Put something in the Kong ball, and maybe she will be
absolutely.
distracted and scoot out the door.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you fill their Kong and you freeze it in the freezer, it takes a
Yes,
lot longer for them to get
she
that
loves
stuff
that.
out. So that will last a little bit longer. But have you played any crate games with her to get her more comfortable being in her crate?
I have not. I have never heard of any crate
Okay.
games, but like I've done like the toy thing. I've done the treats where you like put them by the door and slowly in and you don't shut the door. And then you add more treats and you still don't shut the door. And like I talked to her and I told you I use the Alexa for calming music. I've tried everything that I can think of, but it just didn't work. So the
Yeah.
Kong thing
So
sounds like a good.
it sounds like you're on the right track with it as far as like easing her into that with treats for sure.
Yep.
At some point you need to be able to close the door though and let her see that, oh, the door's closed and it's okay. Reward her. Okay.
Yes.
You always want to catch them before they start showing. When you're doing crate games, you want to catch them before they start showing signs of distress.
Yep.
And you'll see it, and you'll see it in their demeanor. They're like, they're okay, and then okay, we're not okay. Catch it right then, okay? Let them out. And then you're going to work your way to longer periods of time. But what you want is them to feel calm until that door is open. So if you sit there and you watch your dog, you can slowly start. It happens pretty quickly, actually, but you gradually start increasing the amount of time that they're sitting there with the door closed. Okay. But they're making that
Oh.
association that, oh, it's okay. It's okay. And before they build up, you're letting them out. So they're not feeling like this inside their kennel. Every time you
Yep.
let them out, they're still down here. Does that make sense?
Yep, it does.
Okay, so then you're just going to gradually increase that time. We do have some, I think there's, no, I know there's a video of me doing crate games with Luna in the chat forum. And you're in the chat forum, right? You're all set with getting in there.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm still working around on navigation and all that, but I'm sure I can, and I can always reach out. You're not
Oh.
far from me anyways.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a video on crate training in there that I was working
Oh,
on.
okay.
So, and it's the same stuff that I did with her, and she, just the difference between my two dogs, I crate trained Luna purposely with those games, and she loves the crate and is very comfortable in the crate, and she's always relaxed in there. Cedar, on the other hand, I hadn't crate trained. We used a crate, but I didn't do it with the same method, and he'll sit in there, but he is not a fan. So it's important to expose them to it properly when they're young.
So could that be her, like her, because she's the first one that I've had that, like especially as a puppy. So it's been 18 years since I had a puppy. So at that time, I think I might have used the crate like just at like nighttime so that they weren't like naughty in the house at all.
Mhm.
And then after that, I've never had to use one. And so she's the first one that I've ever gone to the bathroom. Could that just be her like trying to like get back at me for having her go in for the feeling, or how? Why do they do that in their kennel?
Well, I wonder what she's got going on. I know that we kind of talked about some of her medical things and stuff, but
Yes.
um I really feel like that's a big part of it. I really feel like when something medically is going on, it's harder
Yes.
for them to know, I mean, if you've ever had a UTI, you know that like you constantly feel like you have to go to the bathroom, like you can't really
Yes.
trust your body.
No.
So if she has something like that going on, it's definitely going to affect that, the potty training aspect for sure.
Yeah, it definitely did because we did 2 weeks of that. Then we did the week of the anti-inflammatory and the probiotic. And then now, and I remember you asking me about the wipes. I did another urine on her for this week. So this would be the 4th week, but we actually were able to be okay last week. And then I said, we better put a urine in. And so she still has some WBCs, white blood cells, that are a little bit higher than they want. So I actually have those wipes and I do it
Yeah.
once a day.
Yes, definitely. Keep her clean. That will go a long way in preventing any kind of irritation down there. Even if she's not getting a full-blown UTI,
Yep.
that irritation in itself it's gonna feel the same way to them that it does to us. It's very uncomfortable. It's gonna make us feel like I don't know what's going on down there. Same thing
Yep.
with her. So
Good.
So how
So I'm
did, can I
hoping we're
add a
on the
question?
mend.
absolutely.
How did you know that? What were the signs that she gave that you thought she had a UTI? Your dog.
So she would go to the bathroom constantly. We would take her outside and she'd go to the bathroom. And as soon as she'd come inside, she would go to the bathroom like just a couple times, almost as if like she had never gone outside.
Okay.
And then it was almost constant. It got to the point for the third time bringing her in, and that's when she got treated a little bit differently in the 3rd week. I actually had to put her outside because I couldn't get ready for work. She was going less than every minute.
Oh,
And what
wow.
happens is when you look at them, they will, if you're watching them, pee, sometimes they'll squat and there's nothing coming out.
Mhm.
Sometimes they'll squat and there's a little bit, and then it'll be constant, like within the next 15 to 20 minutes. When I really realized there was something up, she was literally taking a nap and she had peed herself completely. And she was still
Mhm.
sleeping and she wasn't herself. I ended up actually taking her to the ER in Brewer. So then they did her urine and she was full blood. She had a very good size infection. So that's where I was like, yep, I knew something was up because she was sleeping more than normal. And I'm like, And then when she really peed herself and she was sleeping, I was like, yeah, nope, that's not right.
Yeah.
So you can kind of tell
Yep.
it will give you, they'll definitely give you signs. Like you can really tell. And it's constant.
Mhm. They'll
Okay.
also lick a lot. They'll lick that
Yeah.
area all the time. And they might, like Luna had an inverted vulva when she was born, so she's a black lab and they're prone to that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so black labs are actually prone to being born with an inverted vulva, and so what happens is it more bacteria stays in that area and it causes an infection more than a typical dog. So that's why I said constantly keep her clean. I know that they didn't think that she had one, but I really feel like she probably does. So
Yes.
keeping that area clean is huge. But Luna would act very uncomfortable. Like when she would go sit down and move around the house, she would just act uncomfortable, and you can see it. It's pretty obvious when they have one going on.
Yes. And when I did her urine this week, they truly don't think like she has the infection like brewing anymore. They think it might be like just from her going to the bathroom. So that's why they gave me her wipes. And she's doing much, much better. Because it's like for the first week she was doing great well on the meds, and as soon as she got off them we were right back to almost square one, and then we did it again, and then it was even worse than the first week. And
Yeah.
then we did the third week. There was actually vaginitis that they treated her for. It's different from us women to animals. I had them explain this and the whole thing, because for us we'd have an antibiotic, for them they get probiotic and an anti-inflammatory. She responded to that very, very, very well. And then I just wanted to do a double check on her urine again. So we've had 3 now. And
Yeah.
now they're just said, try the wipes, and as you know, if anything comes about, which we keep an eye on. And so far we've been doing very well. So I'm hoping we're
Yeah,
on the mend.
those wipes work really, really well. But
Oh, that's so good to hear.
yeah, one of the biggest things that, and Amy, you'll be able to relate to this because you're in education, but when I entered dog training and learning about it, is really stepping back from like the behavior, whatever's going on, right? And considering what else is going on with this dog, like just like you would with a kid, what else is going on? Are those basic needs not met? Because we're going to see behaviors if they're not. So is the dog hungry? Has the dog, is the dog thirsty? Is the dog ready for a nap and hasn't had one? They have a ton of pent up energy that they need to go get out. And we have to consider all of those things before we have an expectation for behavior, because dogs are just like kids in that aspect. If we don't, and sometimes us, right? If we're hungry and we're sitting in a line somewhere, we're probably not our best selves, right? You know, so it's the same thing with dogs, and we really have to step back and like consider all of those things. And I, you know, as being a dog owner, I hadn't really considered all of that until I entered the dog training world. And it was like, oh, wait, my dog's got an incredible amount of energy. No, they're not going to be able to stay with me right now. They need to go run, right? So something we definitely need to consider, especially with puppies. And like we've been talking about that fear period too, you know, dogs going through that moment of, oh my God, now my dog's afraid of everything. Well, it's normal, right? It's a fear period. So now I have to consider A, B, and C for my dog, right? You know, I have to make sure interactions are positive and appropriate, and they're making positive associations with things. Does that make sense to everybody? Is there any questions on what we've talked about so far? No.
Nope. Totally makes sense.
I figured it would hit home with you, Amy, because we were preached that so many times at work.
Yes, yes, yes.
Oh my gosh, like every other workshop was, you know, a holistic view of the child, and we need a holistic view of our dogs too, for sure. So
Yep.
does anyone have
Yep.
any questions? Have we something we want to touch on before we go?
Well, what is the next with Aspen? Like what? So, I mean, she's getting the recall done. I'm going to work on the leash bit this week, starting tomorrow and things. What is the next thing? Because I don't want to overwhelm her with like moving through too fast. What is the next thing that I should work on with her?
It's not really moving too fast. I mean, you can embed these things in your daily life with her, right? You just kind of, these are the expectations for this, and this, you know. As far as like actual training sessions, target 1 or 2 things. Also, as you get her doing those things like sit down, stay, and she's doing them fluently, do it in sequence, you know. Don't spend 2 minutes just practicing stay, you know, practice down, stay, sit. I'll go over that with you Monday. I'll demonstrate that with Cedar, what sequencing kind of looks like. But
Awesome.
There's also a video in the thread about sequencing, I believe. So check that out. So I mean, definitely. And this is something else that I wanted to touch on too. Charlotte had mentioned earlier, the pulling on the leash, and you said you were going to start some leash work with Aspen. Definitely reinforce the healing and that expectation to be at your side off the leash. So while you're in the house, I don't know if we did this at all during our session, Sean, but reinforcing the expectation that the dog is at your side and that that's where they need to be. So you start out just luring them with a treat at your side, and you're just walking throughout your house. And this is what I mean about embedding it into your day. It's so easy to grab a treat and lure your dog with you and keep rewarding your dog for staying at your side. And if you could reinforce that in the house, and then they get good at that there, bring it outside. Now the expectation is to walk with you around the yard at your side until you release. If you notice your dog's going to break that heel, give that release, just like we talked about with stay. If you notice the dog's going to break your stay, release them with that cue word, okay? That way you're the one that broke it, not them. Same thing with the heel. If you notice that they've had enough and they're going to break that heel, release them. Say, okay, let them go. Okay.
Yep.
That way they associate you breaking that expectation and not them.
Yep.
But
that's just stuff.
that teaching them to be at your side and that expectation to be at your side will go so far with loose leash walking, because they'll just know that that's how we walk. That's how we go. Especially with Aspen being so young, that's how I would walk through the house with her all the time. If I were you, I really would. I would lure her absolutely everywhere with me, and I would treat her every few steps and really
So we do go
reinforce.
we have a really long road that goes out back of our property that I've been walking with her 3 times a day. And I actually do that with her. I do it off the leash. So when we're walking, I kind of tap the side of my leg and I will use with me. And then if she comes right up and comes with me, then I kind of I put a treat down for her. So she is getting used to staying with me.
And if you do that consistently, it is such a, they just get it. And it is such a good look to have your dog walk right nicely beside you off leash. And, they don't even care what's going on in the world because you're cooler than that. So
yeah,
high value treats also are a good opportunity when you're doing this, when you're outside in a more stimulating environment. So I would go with pieces of hot dog or something really
in the sky.
Yep.
make it really rewarding.
At night, they went to.
We need a treat purse, a purse that carries treats. We just wear it all day.
I know. Well, we've been putting out our apparel, and Jordan and I have been talking about how we don't have a treat thing yet. But it's funny that you say that, because I was just working on a video of her wearing the new tunic. So there's this tunic sweatshirt and it has this built-in fanny pack, and she calls it her tunic or whatever. So it's funny that you mentioned that, but yeah, you should. I mean, you should always have some treats on you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that'll be fun. Yeah, you got to put that in. I'll order it ASAP.
It's actually on the store site already. And it's funny because Jordan made a short video. She loves her tunic so much that she's going to laugh when she sees the end of this class. But she loves it so much that she made this cool video, and she's it's got a built-in fanny pack, and she's showing off the tunic. And I was that's funny. I'm going to put that together and put it on Facebook. So I was actually working on that today. So
yay. Yes.
Yeah, but have treats on you all the time. There's always an opportunity for training, always.
Perfect. So I'm going to work on the kennel, disengaging if she's doing something that she shouldn't be, engaging and disengaging. And then what was the other one? Oh, when I leave the house, having someone kind of disengage her from that, or leaving the Kong ball. That's probably going to be my friend for a while.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. There's no shame in that game. There's been trainers out there that say they don't believe in treating and all this stuff. And I think that's absolutely ridiculous. Who goes to work and doesn't get a paycheck? I mean, dogs.
That's true.
Dogs, they're working for you, right? So they want to get rewarded, and we can't blame them for that. So
exactly.
As soon as I get Aspen's Kong ball out, are you talking about the ones that screw together that you put the ball of the treat in the center of it? That's the one that I have.
Is it a green one?
Well, yeah, I have a purple one, but yes, as soon as she hears me getting in the freezer and hears that squeak of the turn, she goes right to her kennel okay, it's time.
Yes. Yeah. Because she's made that association, right? She knows when she gets that, she's probably going to the kennel, and that's okay, right?
Yeah, and when I come home, she's calmly sitting, she can hear me, my door shut and me coming in the house. but she's not jumping and whining. She
That is
calmly waits
wonderful.
until I open the door.
That is wonderful. You were ahead of it, Amy, and I am excited to watch Aspen grow because of the prep work that you did before you got her and like how on it you've been. I am like so excited to see how Aspen turns out because she's had it from the get-go, right? It's just
Right.
yeah, it's great. It's so
Yes.
much harder to break back,
If you make a sound on this plane, you'll be captured by monsters.
but we can do
Yes.
it. We
Yes.
can definitely do it.
Want to
So
live.
as always, guys, if you have any questions, reach out, let us know. There's also a treat and toy video in the chat forum. You could check that out too. And I mentioned the green thing that I think you're talking about, but it might be different. But Sean and Charlotte, check that out because that's like a nice treat that they only get when they go to the kennel for my dogs. So like they made that association like, ooh, that's really enticing and that's a cool treat, but I only get it when I have to like be alone, and that's okay because I got this cool treat, you know.
We basically
Oh,
do that
that's a
with a
good
regular
idea.
Kong and treats and peanut butter frozen. But I line the inside of the Kong with peanut butter, put some treats in, little
Absolutely.
peanut butter over the top, goes in the freezer anytime she's going to be in the kennel.
Yes,
Yep.
absolutely.
Yep.
I see. Exactly. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Something that and then they're associating the kennel with a positive thing, right? I get that special Kong. Yogurt, you can do the same thing with yogurt, applesauce, pureed pumpkin, like the all natural one, if you want to switch it up a little bit. All those things the dogs have. My dogs really love the pumpkin. That seems to be their favorite, but you could stick carrots in there, blueberries, apples, bananas, like all kinds of different things. But we've got all those ideas in the chat form in one of the threads, so you can check that out. But listen, guys, you got any questions, please reach out. Let us know.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Have a good
Bye,
night.
guys.
You
You
too.
too.
Bye.